This game is super hot fire.
Disco baby, sexy baby, hot.
Real talk, as kind of like cringy as it might be, just the concept of like a dev studio using like their internal tools to basically do GIF recreations of famous internet memes. I'm more forgiving of 110 getting in on it with just that one compared to all the other times that like Sony's studios like have done it.
I'm genuinely surprised that during the karaoke section they didn't do the Gaijin 4 Coma.
That would have been such a good opportunity.
I was genuinely waiting for just a side-on view of them going, oh!
Yeah. Oh, God, you actually just made me realize something that had been stuck in my head to the point where I think I need to do a redraw of it. Where, you familiar with your Toho memes?
Depends on the meme. Some of them are a bit too esoteric for me.
Well, the one that has to do with easy mode in Toho.
Oh, yes.
And I want to do one where it's just Hannah and Vivian, like, giggling at each other, being like, Neko-Chan mode? Only kids play Neko-Chan mode.
I know, right? What a loser.
Yeah.
Found it. Watch this.
Mustafa Mercer.
Who?
My first case. Maybe second. He's a submarine smuggler.
Hides them in sandwiches.
Hmm.
I remember the name.
Fast forward this bullshit.
How does one smuggle a submarine? Isn't that just like
You do understand that I will
driving it?
kill you.
Mm.
Either I tell you and walk out of here or you put a bullet in my head, Sheriff.
Yeah, we got South Africans in this shit.
I came to this world in a body bag. You think I'm afraid to leave it
Huh.
anyway?
Why does that sound familiar?
Too many things at once.
Indeed.
Did you let him
Anyway,
go?
we're gonna see a bit more examples of how Hannah
take
Stone
this.
is a totally
What's wrong?
behaved
Now
and
what's
normal
the
police
matter?
officer.
Totally normal.
Cortez.
I got a show on DVR.
Playing tough with me, girl? I've seen tough. You fucking bitch!
Well, now you get to go to hospital and she gets to go home and watch her movies.
I can go all night
Yeah.
if you want me to.
And this is probably far back enough where like she and Oliver were still together. You know, not having boy troubles like she is now.
What happened? He was resisting arrest. Good enough.
And then like all the way back in Simmons' office, he's not present, but he instinctively pulls out a bottle of Tums and he doesn't know why.
Just wakes up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and just goes, God damn it, Hannah! Will you close that fucking door?
But yeah, this is technically something that we're doing even though we're not being paid for it because just like the current police department's contract is clearly going out the door.
If she comes through, she gets a nice raincoat.
I feel like extracurricular police work should be frowned on, but
Yeah.
like it's not like being a teacher. You shouldn't take your work home with you.
Right. Especially when your work involves guns. But
Yeah,
this work
that's
does
a very bad
involve...
thing.
This work, however, does involve one of the coolest, like, visual transitions. This sequence is another memorable one.
Reminds me of Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Oh god, seriously? This is the music we're going with?
Yeah.
Ah, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yep, there's a cover of Maniac that is also on the soundtrack for this game.
They are just leaning into every action movie cliche they possibly can at this point now. They're doing my job for me.
Oh, also clearly fans of Flashdance.
Yep.
But yeah, even in situations like this, even when it briefly looks like the current scene is turning anime, it's entirely because anime equates flashback.
How dare you make me think my own thoughts?
There's actually there was some channel that did like a speed run of this game kind of early on, and like one of his gameplay segments, he actually is from the start of this mission that we're getting into, where he took like the opening few minutes and synced it up with this version of Maniac and released it as like its own separate video. Funny enough, it reminded me of like when I did that
Welcome to the worst.
Oh look, there's the chick Herzog was scared of in prison.
The party is over.
But yeah, it was the like when I did the Devil's Third LP, I took a encounter from that game and used it as like kind of like a Let's Play trailer for it that I put music over, and that's kind of just what it reminded me of. It was like, yeah, this is good music choice to kind of demonstrate a segment that shows the game played at its best.
Yeah.
Oh, chick. So,
Do you know her?
I mean, she looks like a bad bitch and totally my type, but I have no clue who she is. Sorry. You wasted
With all like the gold circuit patterns and whatnot, this dude really does feel like a reject from the Eidos Montreal Deus Ex games.
Yeah. All it's missing is a weird gold sheen to everything.
Fuck, do you know what he said?
Advanced telepathy?
She told you something, didn't she? Or you
Yeah, there's obviously the
Mustafa, you
connection.
are not good at hiding your
Tell me more.
cards.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck do you want from me? When money talks, few are deaf. I took the job.
Yeah, so he was responsible
What
for
choice did I have?
bringing these group of
Who is
synthetics
she?
to the island.
Her name is October. She's August's pet.
Who's August?
The dickhead you fought in Kowloon Park.
Who are you smuggling?
You're not good at putting the clues together, are you?
Stone, she's 100% human. What the actual fuck?
Surprise! The synthetics aren't synthetic at all.
Robot to you.
Shocking.
You think
No, wait,
Yes.
the other thing. Called it.
People would have figured out.
Shocked.
And they did.
Shocked.
They fucking
Well, not
did.
actually
that
shocked.
What? Somebody has to shovel the radioactive shit left after the war. Somebody has to drive a garbage truck.
Synthetic greens are made of people.
Synthetics being basically repurposed for the express use of doing the jobs that all the higher class people don't want to do, especially if it
Hey.
involves wartime cleanup.
I mean, let's be honest, this isn't the kind of game that you play for its radical plot twists.
No.
As long as the game makes sense, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, there is at least a sort of twist by the end where it does tie back into this, obvious revelation. But it's the sort of thing where you put the pieces together when it happens, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Quit acting all tough.
Yeah, we got a whole lot of goons that have no problem just coming at us with stun batons, so that's a good thing. We can just flex our melee skills.
Yeah, I'm surprised the stage started with 30 guys surrounding you, and yeah, all of them are viable targets. Turns out.
Yeah,
Are you shaking?
still don't mean I can't use a gun. As we established, just like Devil's Third, the success to playing these games well is that you cannot match range types all the time. You gotta learn, yes, if someone's coming at you to take you on in a knife fight, bring a gun. And if people are trying to take you down with a gun, bring a knife.
No escape, bitch.
It's just a shame that you don't have some of the other specific tools Devil's Third had that made the bridging of those two styles so unique. Because I mean, I'd already talked about back in Kowloon Park my initial problem I had with how this game handled the transition from melee to shoot mode as far as how the camera shifts.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it's kind of fucking up there, but that's in addition to the rather strong auto aim that this game has when you pull the left trigger. But I guess the way to describe it is how because this is essentially a result of this game limiting you to one weapon that has a lot of utility, one melee weapon, and an assault rifle that you always have on hand that's highly customizable. Not only does that set in stone what your effective melee what your effective combat ranges are going to be, But it also means that you don't get to do any of like the fancy shit that you could with melee weapons in Devil's Third, where you have a targeted long-range attack or the ability to throw melee weapons. Essentially turning a close-range tool into a long-range death machine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we mentioned it in one of the previous videos. It's never... Well, I mean, like, narrowing your scope isn't inherently a bad thing. It can often be like very good
because they do find ways to definitely add more usefulness to like certain elements that didn't have these things. Like for instance, I did not have a dedicated bullet time mechanic whenever I aimed the gun.
Yeah. Problem is though that when you do narrow your scope, you lose some of the unintentionally, for the most part. You lose some of the nuances that made what you'd done previously special. Granted, some of that is probably unintentional, and a good chunk of it may well be accidental jank, but it still makes for what would otherwise be an uninteresting, just by-the-numbers style of gameplay and turns it into something memorable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this game isn't all by the numbers, but the parts where you do see it try and like do things that makes it like more conforming and acceptable to other game standards, where it does kind of conflict, you know, with the fact that it has to have that over the shoulder camera during shoot mode the way that it does. But even when it comes to the switching, you might remember from how it was in Devil's Third, but the way I described it was like, you know, like this game still does it as well, but it's the idea that, you know, when you want to switch to melee mode or shoot mode, you basically press the corresponding attack button that has to do with those modes. Like if you want to switch to your gun, you press the right trigger, and if you want to like switch to your melee weapon, you press the button that you use to attack with it. In Devil's Third, like how that worked is that it was essentially a mode switch. You press the button and it didn't immediately attack because that was like extra control you needed for how that game worked. In here, they really do try to blend the two even more, to the point where pressing the melee attack button when you're in shoot mode isn't just a mode switch. It switches mode and attacks right away. And same goes for when you press any of the buttons that have to do with shooting, to the point where, like, yeah, because you don't have the melee shots or the aim lock moves from Devil's Third, when you press left trigger, it just pulls out the gun immediately. That's like the closest you get to a mode switch without it doubling as an attack.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a more elegant way of doing it, but not necessarily a better way of doing it.
Yeah, like the better way, unfortunately, is one where you still need to teach the player like why this is important, which, you know, as much as I love Devil's Third, with all its jank, it didn't do a good job at that. Like, it's something you could only really figure out if you are naturally willing to explore new game mechanics and test their limits themselves, which most people don't. Most care about just getting the gist of what the game expects from you and going with the flow.
Well, I mean, look at Devil May Cry, for example. Any of the games in the series, except maybe 2, the combo potential that you've got is absolutely insane. But most people will really just involve themselves with maybe 10% of the options available to them,
and not even realize like the full utility of like even your basic abilities. Like plenty people still to this day, particularly the ones that keep complaining about about Devil May Cry not having a dedicated dodge button, not realizing that your jump button, which is used for backflips and dodge rolling, has iframes when you use it. It is effectively your dodge maneuver, but the games have never done an adequate job of ever, or even so much as tried to make the implication that this is what it actually does.
I mean, I remember way back in the day playing the original and discovering the pause combos were a thing and just being like, holy shit, what else is the game not telling me?
Yeah, like, you not only have pause combos, but you have 2 pause combos that vary depending on how long the pause goes for.
Yeah,
not
or
even,
when
not
you
even
pause.
The later games do that. Like, the way they do pause combos in, like, 3, 4, and 5 is that you do the pause after different parts of the combo.
Yeah, whether it's attack, pause, attack, or attack, pause, attack.
Yeah.
Those are the two most obvious ones, but I mean, some of the other weapons have even more, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, like there's some impressive stuff that is just like, but that the game. I mean, like, it's not, and even then, the problem we're describing isn't really, like, endemic of just DMC itself. You could very much say that it is a problem that so many Japanese developers, like, clearly struggle with. I say struggle, but it clearly feels, in a lot of cases, more like they don't give a fuck.
It's more of an assumption that the player is as invested in discovering these things as they were in putting them in. And
yeah.
that is not something you should ever be assuming.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that does lead to, like, you know, developers in other parts of the world that try and overcompensate by, like, making sure it's explained and, like, clearly communicated what everything does, but they don't have any interesting systems behind it, because they also want to make sure it's as familiar to people who have played other games. Hence, you know, that period of when first-person shooters were all just trying to ape directly from Call of Duty, because everyone played Call of Duty.
Yeah. I mean, with the game that I'm working on, one of the things which I've always known but never been able to put into words is that there is, for one thing, there is basically no elegant way of putting a tutorial in a game. Someone is always going to complain that it's breaking the fourth wall, it's breaking the immersion, blah, blah, blah. And second... Exactly. And second, no matter how you integrate that tutorial, how clear you make it, this is how you play the game, people will still fast forward past it and ignore it. And then complain, how come I can't do this thing? It's like, well, it was in the tutorial that you just skipped over at the beginning. Oh, well, you should have said so.
Yeah. Motherfuckers complaining about, like, not having enough ammo or not knowing how to get ammo back in Doom Eternal when the game literally tells you how the chainsaw fucking works. Yeah,
like, when I'm writing stuff, it's like, I have to remind myself to be less subtle, because even just any of the tutorials I've written, people are still not going to get it. So it's like...
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, I am writing this for, you know, people who have maybe one brain cell on timeshare, but you kind of have to assume that is the case.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing.
Yeah. Admittedly, like, in my case, if I were, like, in the position to be making a game and figure out how to, like, tutorialize stuff, I would very much be the kind of person that would just focus on, just have a separate mode that is all about... That is basically the in-game technical manual, just so that there is nothing to get in the way of the flow of the main game.
That's the worrying part, because we actually do have, like, a data log.
Yeah!
With all the tutorials, and people are like, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, what do we do?
Anyway, we just chainsawed to death a returning enemy from Devil's Third. It's the Heavy Gunner.
Everyone they could have brought back, and it's not Mr. Piggles. Like, what the fuck, bro?
I mean, listen, this game is already cracked out in a lot of ways. I don't know if like, Hong Kong would be ready for, like, biohazard mutants.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the things we've been fighting?
Fair.
There's always room for biohazard mutants.
I guess. But right now, we got Angle Security Consulting as our foes from now on. The company that was basically in the bidding to take over our police contract next week.
So we're job creators then?
I guess.
Because we're creating a lot of new positions that are going to have to be filled.
And new problems, because we're technically not supposed to be doing this job anymore.
Yeah. It's just proactive job consultation.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be here.
That said, though, you know, as far as things that, like, this game obviously brings back from a Devil's Third, or changes or does completely new. Like, one thing that this game absolutely does that I appreciate that Devil's Third definitely did not have was an ability that this is one of those things, actually kind of getting back somewhat to what we were talking about, tutorialization, how there's no good way to do it because some people will always just, like, skip it or not be adventurous enough in exploring mechanics to realize their potential. And this game has, like, a mechanic that is a result of how the guard function works. Oh yeah, we do have swordsman as well. Again, remember, bring a gun to a knife fight. And done.
Wow.
But yes, with the guard, the thing about it is that because of how important guarding attacks are, especially with being able to press guard the moment an attack connects so you can deflect it, there naturally has to be some cancelability to this game's moves in order to make it work. Because if you're locked in animations all the time, then that makes that kind of parry deflect system kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Here, it works very well to the point where if you want to get really fancy with how you combo enemies with like your melee weapons and other moves, you press the button to assume a quick guard stance and then to essentially cancel it. And then you can immediately lead into something else. You can lead in with a different combo. You could lead in by buffering a running sprint attack. You could cancel it out so you could immediately whip out a shotgun and shoot them in the face, like I have done a few times. It improves the flow of the game's combat and is one of those things where, again, when I've seen... Because, admittedly, I have not looked at any reviews for this game, like, to see what their scores are or what the text is, because I think there's no point. All I really get is just, comments from people that I see on Discord or, like, forums or whatever that just kind of make just one-off remarks about what they thought of the gameplay and how it's clearly, like, not indicative of what it's actually capable of, because it becomes clear that they never assumed once that this was a mechanic in game. And it leads to some people thinking, well, okay, if that is a mechanic, shouldn't they, say something in the game itself that this is possible? I mean, in the same sense that any fighting game developer should be aware of their own, like, advanced mechanics that realistically only ever get figured out once the game is released and people are adding things to the meta. Because that's ultimately what it is. It's like you can't... There are some things like that guard cancel where you can't explicitly, as the developer, figure out that that's like something you should be highlighting. The best you can do is make a system where, for those very adventurous players that like to dig into the systems, into the weeds of things, that can figure out, oh, this combination results in this emergent gameplay style, and so forth. Like, you just have to have that mindset, and that's really the only way you're ever going to know that such a strategy even exists.
I mean, guard cancelling is one of those things that it's been part of the genre for so long, it's kind of assumed that every game has it. And yet, it's because of that, because it's so baked in, and it's so assumed that you are going to know about it. A lot of the time, they just don't bother explaining it.
Yeah,
like
especially
depending on the game,
when
it's
we're
one of those.
post...
Yeah, depending on the game, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm still not sure if I'm doing it right, despite the fact I've been doing it since like Devil May Cry 1.
Something like that, yeah. Just doing like Twitch canceling, where you just rotate the analog stick to break out of like your combo, so you can lead in with a different one, keep the style gauge going. Yeah, like you would, like average player first time out would never clue in that was something that is possible, only if they are trying to push the limits of what they can do that is stylish action.
I mean, just cancelling in general is like again, it's inherently baked into the gameplay. When you get down to it, it just really started as a glitch, something that you weren't supposed to be able to do, and now it's the cornerstone of most of these kind of games, and they still don't tell you how to do it half the time.
Yeah, again, it's always like that assumption that, like, oh, you've played these type of games, you should have, like, the right mindset to appreciate it in a similar way.
Yeah.
Much like how big AAA studios kept making shooters that ate the Call of Duty model, because they were like, oh, like, if you already know how Call of Duty works, then we don't need to spend time explaining to you how our boring-ass game actually works.
Yeah, obviously this isn't going to be your first rodeo, unless it's your first rodeo, in which case, good luck, buckaroo.
Yeah. But that's, even with all that kind of unfortunate misunderstanding, it's like the ability to guard cancel really does make a huge impact. It's such a simple thing too, because the game's systems overall doesn't have like the plethora of like hidden mechanics that like other high-profile like character action games obviously have. But this is something where you understand that it's a thing, and it becomes transformative in the same way that because I've used this example before, but Metal Wolf Chaos, where the way that game's boost system works, most people generally would probably just hold the button and boost in a direction on the ground or in a straight direction when in the air. They might realize that the boost has a huge burst of acceleration on startup, but it takes an adventurous mind to realize that you chain those acceleration bursts when you're in mid-air, and you can basically move faster and efficiently than you ever could otherwise, and it changes how you approach like the fights in that game.
Yeah, I think I worked out that it was basically an ersatz dodge maneuver fairly quickly.
Yeah,
but
to do it efficiently and consistently is like requires a lot of dexterity, as you would imagine.
It takes a lot of effort to the point where after a while I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with the dodging.
Yeah, it can kind of wear down your thumbs after a while.
Yeah, it's like, great, I'm gonna get carpal tunnel syndrome from this. You know what? Nah.
That said, we now have to fight these heavy gunners without the aid of a chainsaw, and I will say, just due to the nature of how they are designed, it's a good thing they are used very sparingly, because they are otherwise the type of enemy that I would generally prefer to not fight if I have the chance.
Yeah, that almost looked like more of a mini-boss, which is weird
felt like
considering they'd already been introduced.
It felt like I was playing something closer to Sekiro, if I was being honest.
Yeah, it looked it.
Yeah, because at least all the other stuff, be it like the regular gunners, the swordsmen, the ninjas, you at least got like a lot of room to kind of like take into account things with like your positioning, the area that you're fighting in. I mean, like, you saw at least there I was able to at least pin them down with some well-placed flame grenades.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he glitched out or what.
Yeah, but it's the sort of thing where, again, because of how big and tanky they are an enemy that is designed to take so many hits so that they will just force you to play, again, in that safer than I would prefer type of play style. Because any attempts you get to kind of make them falter are not going to last long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we'll be seeing them occasionally as the game continues towards the end. But like I said, again, very sparingly used. That like the game knows better that like they spend more time throwing like the swordsman enemies at you than they do the heavy gunners. And those are significantly more fun enemies to fight. So, like, it was the right call. Anyway, Cortez is injured. Gotta find who did this.
Is Hannah gonna fist fight shirtless on a rooftop?
No, she's gonna fight Russian Ayane with a sniper rifle.
See, with the purple hair and the big thing over her eye, I'm thinking Psylocke from the X-Men.
Little bit, yeah.
And she's a ninja.
Anyway, Here's the Kolchak fight, aka we made the Ludmilla fight from Devil's Third good this time. You remember that stealth camo bullshit that she had, and how it was basically like it was more than just stealth camo. It was literally an excuse to have her teleport out of the arena and then teleport to a different location. Here, it's a lot more honest by being like, you can always see the reflective sheen of her stealth camo. Because, like, when she disappears, she's not warping. She is actually running away. So you can pay more attention to the environment, the fact that it is wet on this rooftop. Then you can see, like, very faintly, like, the stealth camo that she has.
The splashing of her footsteps, yeah. I kind of feel like this is really what they wanted to do, but they just didn't have the processing power with the Wii U.
And the time.
Well, that too, yeah.
There's a lot of time that they couldn't really spend getting a lot of things to look nice and play nice.
It's weird how a game can be rushed and take forever at the same time.
Yeah, and it's a miracle that it still manages to have a gameplay system that is still so goddamn fun when you understand it. It's just, you know, there were other better boss fights in that game compared to Ludmilla.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That cloak of hers is doing some things.
Yeah. I mean, again, we all know this is still Wanted Dead. It's better production than Devil's Third, but it's still not without its jank.
Higher production values don't necessarily translate to good.
Yeah, like they called this game in the marketing a AAA love letter to the 6th generation of game consoles, which, you know, that means the PS2 era, the best era, but that also means it's like, okay, probably by the standards of what budgets were back then, this probably would qualify as AAA, but it's still, yeah. I mean, whatever. It's more fair to call that this is clearly AA by any modern standards.
Just like my favorite batteries.
That said, though, you gotta watch out for this insta-kill with my first game over of the game.
God damn.
So I had to refight this, but since I liked how the first phase went, I decided to keep that, and we're just redoing the second. I was already close to killing her anyway, so we're just gonna do it like this. Yeah, see, again, you're seeing, like, as we're getting further into the game, what I've been talking about with the grenades.
Yeah, with they're much better for area denial than anything, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Especially in a boss like this, that's definitely going to be handy.
It's especially fun if you get situations going where you set up a flame grenade trap and the boss or enemy is between the flames and you just ping-pong them between your sword strikes and the flames because they get bounced back as they reel into their "oh my god, I'm on fire" animation.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of points where you basically had her trapped between two fire pools, and she was just all like, "Great, now what do I do?"
Yeah, like that's what makes it so good. It's like, it's the sort of thing where they program specific AI routines that, like, if you're playing it straight, you think, oh, this is annoying, my grenades aren't useful. Then it's like, no, because they work in a specific way, the grenades are not about just throwing directly at something, they're about throwing in places that you expect them to move.
And also, the computer's smart enough not to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to charge blindly towards the player and take more damage anyway.
Don't just stand there. Operate.
With what?
We're on a fucking helicopter!
We'll have to take him inside the cemetery and bury him alive.
Yeah.
All I need is one shot.
Need to evac now.
But yeah, rip Russian Ione. I could not help but just think that, as far as the Team Ninja connection, the fact that it is like someone with like ninja-like abilities and has purple hair. Cooking showtime.
Oh, what culinary atrocities are we gonna make this time?
And today we're doing a deep fry to kill for twice. This one is a no-brainer, really. Prawns, easy to cook, easy to get. This is probably the only food that didn't get into
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But before we continue,
I mean, everything that died and prawns are still on the menu. Like, lobster as well?
I'm going to assume that, like, World War X was a very distinctly land-based war.
Oh my god, there is nothing in that description that does not give me horror.
Nope. Yeah, all these sponsorship items are deeply concerning.
She is just massacring that prawn.
Yeah. I mean, prawns are definitely something where I feel like I would not really want to bother, like, trying to handle with my hands, like, for cooking for anything.
Don't be shy. You can't overdo it, even if you try.
The war has made these almost inedible to begin with.
Walk.
Look, World War X was a land-based war, but that kind of had a knock-on effect on, like, the salt composition of the ocean. That's also probably way too much oil for what a wok would typically need.
That's more like a deep fat fryer's worth of oil.
Yeah.
One of those prawns goes in is going to go up like Hiroshima.
And the other like Nagasaki. Tasteless jokes! Oh!
Always double.
Whatever, we're watching a deliberately bad cooking show in a shitty-ass world that had World War X happen.
Oh my god, those are horrifying. Like, those are the worst breaded prawns I've ever seen in my life.
It's not even a consistent coating.
2 minutes. 3 minutes. If
Like,
you
even
fix
I'm
new
better at that when I make, like, chicken katsu or some shit. Oh.
In a moment.
Oh, now we're getting the producer crew off camera giving her shit for this. This is only going to get worse as we proceed through these cooking show clips, by the way. The awkwardness will not stop. It'll get worse.
I think the rest of the crew have gotten in on her wine.
Yeah, they seem to understood. Notice that she hasn't had a bottle yet.
Yet.
Yeah. They're like, God damn it,
Meanwhile,
like, taking a lot out of our budget.
Meanwhile, here's some prawns that someone capable did.
You could serve these with fries
Yeah.
and mayo, but there's a
Probably
great chance
because
of triggering
getting called out
IVs.
by a producer had it frying for way too long, considering how much oil there was.
Yeah.
2 to 3 minutes? Shit, that probably would have been done in 30
For a
seconds for how she did it.
green option.
At least, and you would like to think she wouldn't fuck up a salad, but even then, I'm pretty sure people that do like salad would have like some objections to how this is being done.
I mean, yes, cutting it roughly is like
To the texture.
yeah, that is a normal thing, but you're also supposed to slice it way more thinly than that. That's just like chunks.
Yes.
You're not expecting it.
Yes.
Like there would be no difference to just eating an entire cabbage with
Balsamic vinegar.
that salad.
In.
True. Oh man, this. Again, these videos are great for how intentionally uncomfortable they all are.
I am
Also, what the fuck is that blue corn?
I feel like I should be shouting "Gentlemen, behold," but in a very horrified tone.
Epi fry. Gotta go.
Later, fuckers.
Someone else deal with this shit. I'm not eating it.
Like, this is what happens when you take, like, an Olympic gold medalist. The Olympics are over. Her time as an athlete is done. And it's like, yep, this is your future.